संवाददाता की बात आपको लिए चलते हैं। क्या जान
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
Please switch off your camera.
Okay. I think attendance is marked, so we can start. code is okay, but it is coming from chapter 11 of the SOLAS. That is a chapter which talks about the security on port facilities and ships. And this is implemented by the code, which is the ISPS. Code has two parts, mandatory and recommendatory. Part A is mandatory and Part B is recommendatory. In many countries, some countries in the European Union, although Part D is recommended, they still want both the parts to be implemented. That would depend from place to place. But technically, Part A is mandatory of the code and Part B is recommendation. This was required, obviously, because you can easily recall this date. This is where it all started. In short, called 9/11. This is where it started. You can easily recollect that, even though you would not have been sailing at that time, but this is how it started. Due to the attack in the United States, it was realized that next attack would be by ships. So it was also put under the purview of security, ships and ship traffic. That is a code. And now we come to the purpose. What is the purpose of ISPS code? A normal thing, a normal question rather. What is the purpose? Just to provide a standardized, consistent framework. Standardized means it should be followed by everyone who is party to SOLAS. Not that people make their own rules, regulations. So standardized regulation framework. That is the idea. But it is flexible because it enables state parties to make changes if they recognize vulnerability in ships and port facilities. They can make their own changes. Which will be national specific, not or country specific. Will not be international, but flexibility is there. Changes can be made in the rules or regulations of that particular state party. State party is a party who has ratified the SOLAS Convention. With these two purposes, you must remember them. Maybe you have already taken note. This is the purpose. Objectives. Objective is to establish framework which involves cooperation. Very important, cooperation. Cooperation between all to take preventive measures. That is the objective. One of the objectives rather. Also, this will lead to detection of security threats and preventive measures. The code also has objective to establish roles and responsibilities. Not only that it will provide a framework, it will provide roles defined for different agencies. It's not restricted. The ISPS code knee-jerk thinking is places like Somalia and Nigeria, but security has been a concern now. More than this, it has established or spread tentacles beyond this. But obviously, when we talk of ISPS code, the first reaction is Somalia and Nigeria. But this has been a concern more than this. It has spread. For example, now, although Somalia has been recognized as the place where all this activity takes place, Madagascar is also under serious concern. There have been threats, there have been attacks down south near Madagascar, so it is not limited now. Most of the conventions were triggered by some incident which we are aware. For example, ISM because of incident of Herald of Free Enterprise, Marpol because of Tory Canyon, SOLAS developed because of Titanic. This was this is the background. Most of the conventions are triggered by some major incident. After that, it is recognized that some steps have to be taken to prevent a further repeat of this kind of incident. But as we say so, one thing is certain. ISPS is the only code maybe which is developed because of a non-marine incident. Because as you can recall, 9/11 attack was in USA on the WTC etc. This was non-marine, but the code was developed. Even though it was a non-marine incident, normally a marine incident leads to a development of a code or convention, but ISPS was developed because of 9/11, which was non-marine. Non-marine. For the purpose of the code, there are some things developed inside the code. One is a ship security plan. This is all the security instructions for the particular vessel. It is ship specific, the ship security plan. Of course, developed on a generic thing given from the code, but it is ship specific. So ISPS code gives minimum points that must be included in the ship security plan. To remember this ISPS code part A stroke 9.4, you need to just write this one when you're writing something on ship security plan SSP. This is an example of those points which have to be taken into consideration regarding ship security plan. First one is to have measures to prevent weapons, dangerous substances coming on board. Second one, procedures in case of a security threat. This is all part of SSP. We have said that some points are there, but as we said and we talked about it, these are generic. These are included in all SSPs, irrespective of the ship. But then, when the plan is being developed, it will be developed ship specific, identifying in this particular ship what can be a threat or what could be the means of carrying out the threat. Then the plan is developed accordingly for ship specific. Obviously, the plan has to be approved, which we'll see later. This is an important point. Number 3 point, security drills and exercises. Integral part of the code emphasize that drills and exercises have to be carried out, which is part of your drill planner also. 4 talks about security equipment on board, maybe CCTVs nowadays. It is part of the equipment. Night vision, binoculars, etc. 5 talks about SSO, Ship Security Officer, and Company Security Officer, along with contact details. Since you are going to be Chief Officer, there is a good chance that you might be an SSO. Because normally I say, it is not essential, but normally it is a Chief Officer or Chief Engineer who becomes the SSO. Many companies employ Chief Engineer as the SSO, which is not a bad idea at all, because he can have an overview. The Chief Officer is having multitasking doing, so his attention might be diverted. It is a good idea if some company is following it, making the Chief Engineer as the SSO. It is only my opinion. It is not essential. It is not described anywhere who will be by rank, who will be the SSO. It is left to the company to decide. Number 6 point talks about restricted areas, which you are familiar, I think, and the measures to prevent unauthorized access, especially in restricted areas. Unauthorized access is supposed to be prevented everywhere, but restricted areas, most definitely. 7 talks about duties of shipboard personnel. Please remember, even if the shipboard people, personnel are not doing the SSO course, not doing it because the SSO course is supposed to be done by somebody who can be designated as SSO. But even if somebody is not done SSO, he is required to do the basic training, which is STSDSD, security training for shipboard with designated security duties, STSDSD. So everyone has undergone this, which makes life easier for SSO because he does not need to start from basics. Everyone who's coming on board has at least done STSD. So that will describe security duties of all people. 8 talks about procedures for reporting security incidents, the contact details, where can it be reported, how it can be reported. 9 talks about SSAS location and testing. Ship security alarm system. It could also be called discrete ship security alarm system because really speaking it should be hidden somewhat or not declared openly. Number 10 point talks about procedures for reviewing and updating. It is not a complete document, it is always under constant review, the SSP. So there should be procedures established for review and updating. That is number 10 point. Hopefully you have just noted a small note you have done for these 10 points, which is the measures, or rather minimum points that must be included in the minimum points that must be included in the SSP. These ones. This is important to understand. The SSP is not just a document, it needs to be approved by the flag state of that vessel. Or it could be approved by a recognized security organization, RSO, on behalf of the flag state. RSO is similar to what is called RO, recognized organization. When it is doing a security thing, it is called RSO. When it is developing security plans involved with ship security assessment, then it is called RSO, recognized security organization, which is approved by the flag state. He will do it on behalf of the flag state. Normally, it is a classification society. Normally, preferred because the class knows the vessel inside out, so it is preferred to have the class as the RSO, just for that reason. Although any organization can be approved by the flag state to act as a RSO. Personally, I have an example taking over a ship from another fleet where a new SSP etc. was required, and this was developed by RSO, which was not the class. Class was DNV, but the RSO was designated by the flag state, which was Hong Kong Marine Department, as Vanguard Agency, non-class, which was not the class. But it was recognized by the Hong Kong Marine Department, HKMD, which was the flag state, as RSO. So they were the ones who developed the SSP for that particular takeover. If the SSP is located by the PSC during an audit or inspection, this can lead to non-conformity because it is not supposed to be displayed openly, the ship security plan. It is supposed to be a document which is classified. It should not be an open location which anybody can access, especially the PSC. If he does that, or if he lays his hand on it, this can lead to a non-conformity, which means a breach of security. There is no point having an SSP which is accessible to all. It is supposed to be a ship security plan, which is supposed to be known only to the people working on board and maybe the class or the RSP. So it should not be an open thing. It has to be kept in a locker. Now there are systems followed. For example, most of the companies are developing two plans. One to be kept in locker, not to be shown to anyone. Another one, abridged, which is containing restricted information, can be shown to the PSC or external authorities. But the original one, the one which contains all the information, is not supposed to be exhibited openly, should not be accessible to anyone. Of course, the company security officer, CSO, can be given access. Or person conducting security audit, maybe external authority, maybe a class survey, that can be given access. But even in this case, it is advisable to consult the company before giving access. Maybe CSO, okay, but during an audit, external authority, it is possible that you might refer it to CSO, take permission, and then show the SSP. So this is also possible. The PSC inspector, just during the course of his inspection, might ask access to SSP, but this is to be denied. You see, he might put up a non-conformance, and this may require showing in the SSP, but as I said very carefully, this can lead to non-conformity as it is if you are showing in the SSP. So in this particular case, the ideal thing is to involve the CSO, your company security officer, give him the full update, tell him the scenario and this PSC inspector on board, if possible, the name of the PSC inspector also, that he is asking for a glance at the SSP, request permission to do so. Only then. Make sure when you do this, the PSC guy knows that he's being documented. His name, etc., has been captured. Because in case there is an incident, he will be also under scanner. So we have understood this. No party should have access to SSP. Also, PSC cannot demand. They cannot. If so, only relevant sections. That is why you have a second SSP made. Sorry, this SSP made to show it to anyone. Only relevant section related to a non-conformity raised by PSC can be shown to him. Then, to develop SSP, the first step is ship security assessment. So, assessment means, as the name suggests, assess the plant, assess the security of your vessel. इसमें भी कई points हैं which you will consider. You can have a responsibility to develop a ship security plan, and the first step will be to develop the SSA. Let's look at the points which you need to consider. First of all, you would like to ensure that your vessel is not attacked. You cannot have a control over the attackers, of course, but you can have control to ensure unauthorized persons are not allowed to board. First of all, identify all access points of the ship. One way to do it will be to identify possible ways, scenario which you imagine how the ship can be attacked. Now, one thing recommended is that you imagine yourself to be an attacker and then think how you can gain access to the ship. Reverse flow, where you feel, where you behave like an attacker so that you can access or identify what points can be used to access the vessel. This is the crux, the thing in nutshell. If you see, SSA is a risk assessment, but related to ship security. SSA, ship security assessment, can be called or can be referred to as a risk assessment related to ship security. You are carrying out RA or ship security, which is ship security assessment. So some questions which could be answered while you are carrying out the assessment. Is there any motive to attack the ship? Is there key shipboard operations that are prone to security incidents, like cargo operation maybe? People coming from outside, stevedores, etc. This is a key shipboard operation which is prone to security. Are there any existing security measures? Then you come to the point of mitigating them. Please keep yourself muted. I don't know, maybe somebody wants to listen to music, but not really permitted to do it so loudly. As it is, there is no point sitting in the class and listening to music. But all the more wrong if you are listening it very loudly, which has now happened. So please keep yourself muted. That is my interaction. Keep yourself muted. Then the questions can continue by the ways the ship can be attacked and the likelihood and consequences of such attack. Now this can form the ship security assessment. These 4 or 5 questions can be the basis of carrying out your assessment, which is actually an RA. If you are doing only an RA, risk assessment, these questions will figure. What are the points to be considered as you're carrying out ship security assessment? Please remember, when you're answering that, you are not going to put question marks when you're answering a question. What you're going to do is write simply to address these points. Is there any motive to attack the ship? Any key shipboard operation likely to be affected by security incident? Do not put question marks. Just write the detail of the thing which is going to your mind. Due to a security incident, is there a likelihood and consequence? Or rather, what are the likelihood and consequence? The ways the ship can be attacked. As we said, this one is like an RA for security. So a normal RA, even if you're not carrying out an RSA, will involve these questions or it will involve answers to these questions. So in crux or in short, ship security assessment is a DRA, detailed risk assessment carried out for security. what happens is, once you have carried out the ship security assessment or SSA, this will form the basis for developing the plan or ship security plan. This is how it will be formulated. Answers to these questions will develop the plan. Company security officer is going to have assessment done also and is involved because he is experienced, he has got the experience, he should be involved. So he will conduct actually the initial ship security assessment. That is his job. But he might ask you for feedback or he might ask you to address this issue, which you should be ready with some questions or some answers also, and then the thing will start. But basically it is the responsibility of the CSO to conduct initial ship security assessment. Having conducted the initial one, he might forward it back to the vessel for to the SSO to develop it further. Of course, this is a very important part, the ship security officer SSO. This is required by the code. The company will appoint the SSO. He should have, if he is the appointed one, he should have done security training and must be doing the main duties of the ship security officer. He should have carried out SSO course as per STCW. I'm sure most of us over here have done the SSO course, modular course, must have done. But in any case, even if you have not done the SSO course, you have definitely done what is called STSTSD. So basic training is there, obviously, which is required by the code itself. So the ship security officer, SSO, will implement and maintain all ship security plan elements. He is the one who will liaison with the company security officer. Not only the company security officer, CSO, but also the PFSO, Port Facility Security Officer. Because if you are aware and you have seen, exchange of information between your ship and the port facility is done even before you enter the port, in which the name, details, etc. of both ship security officer, company security officer, email IDs, phone numbers is exchanged with the PFSO. PFSO with details be available to the ship. Who is the designated PFSO, how he can be contacted, his email ID and phone number. This is all exchanged in, let me say, pre-arrival information. So if you want to implement SSP, then you should be familiar with the SSA. For which reason? Firstly, the SSO must be familiar with SSA and SSP. He should know the key points for this particular vessel. And खुद उसको he will come to grips with it, then only he can train people and implement it. See, each security level has different elements which have to be considered: level 1, level 2, level 3. Now, your company security manual will tell you what is the percentage of baggage which has to be checked at each security level. And then, if any unaccompanied baggage is found, this is a huge concern. This is almost like an emergency, unaccompanied baggage. In fact, It should be treated as emergency unless proved otherwise. Then SSO must know the restricted areas of his ship as per the SSP, the security equipment and maintenance required. Very importantly, he must be definitely aware for the procedure and required interval for testing the SSA, Ship Security Alarm System, SSAS. As an SSO, it is required to have a look for shortcomings. As we have already come to the conclusion, nothing is complete. It is always under constant review. So SSP should also be under review. Constant review and identify any shortcomings. How will you do that? How can you come to a conclusion that there is shortcoming in the SSP? Any suggestion how you can come to a conclusion that your SSP has got shortcomings? Or needs review to remove them? How can we come to a conclusion for this? Firstly, by audits, firstly, by inspections, where the external inspector might make a remark. That is one way. And secondly, which is not really a good idea, but it is there. If you have an incident, then of course SSP needs review. If you have an incident, security related incident, that immediately calls for review of SSP. Because there has to be something missing, that is why the incident took place. Some companies do develop checklists for review of SSP. Some companies do develop checklists for review of SSP included in their SMS or the ship security plan checklist for review, which is possible. But even if there is no one, even if there is no checklist, then it has to be done to the best of the capacity of the SSO or to the best of his ability. Just because there is no checklist, he cannot shy away from not reviewing the SSP. This is one example, an access that should be restricted area but is not designated as so in SSP. Then this calls for inclusion of this area, which now SSO feels should be included as restricted area. Clear instructions may be missing for checking port security personnel in weapons, whether they can be allowed on board or not. Without weapons, there is the port security personnel, but here SSP is not having clear instructions whether these people can be allowed with weapons on board or not. Then again, a review has to be done, maybe CSO involved, and get clear instructions whether such security personnel, port security personnel can be allowed on board or not. It is a serious concern because you cannot assume that this guy will be good. He might come with malintention. So for this reason, a constant review of SSP is required. For these reasons, rather, constant review. Because if anything is complete, it will not require review. But the very fact that there can be near misses, hazardous incidents related to security, it means SSP requires review. Then, of course, company security officer. This is also included in the code. Company has to appoint a CSO. The company will appoint a CSO. His name is well known, and most of the ships you will find it displayed on bulkheads or maybe the bridge, or everybody's known. Everybody knows who is the CSO, which is also essential. Everybody should know, because anybody should be able to contact him for security reasons. So this is appointed by the company. That is one thing important. The code requires company to appoint the CSO. His duties will include this. I would say there is a small typo. If you can understand, carry out initial ship security assessment. Use the word initial here. After that, it can be continued. But the initial SSA should be carried out by the CSO. After he has carried out the initial SSA, which is ship security assessment, he can develop the SSP. And then, this, not he, the CSO will do the initial SSA. He might send the SSA, approve it, and send it to the ship. The ship will now be involved to develop the SSP and submit to the CSO for approval. But CSO is involved by ensuring efficient implementation of SSP. Regular security information to SSO and the ship is conveyed by CSO, which means if your vessel is transiting HRA, high risk area, the CSO is the person who will transmit security information to the SSO, and ship means ship. SSO is involved anyway. Security information relating to latest threats, latest incidents which have taken place along the envisaged transit of your vessel, so that your vessel is fully aware of what is happening around in your HRA, the area where you're going to transit. This is the job of the CSO to share information. This is something you're well aware that this is part of the code. 3 security levels, 1, 2, and 3. With a green thumbs up, simply level 1. Everything is okay. Normal security level. Some security concerns, level 2. And level 3 with a thumb down means obviously it is showing just by animation that this is not allowed at all. Means there is heightened security concern. And it could be described like this. Level 1 is the normal level at which the ships and port facilities normally operate. There could be a heightened risk of security incident then level 2 will apply. Then this will continue for as long as it is recognized there is a heightened risk for security. Then level 2 will apply. But obviously, this will continue to apply for as long as there is a heightened risk. And level 3, of course, is applied for the period of time when there is probable or imminent security rise, incident, threat. Okay, important है, who decides the security level on board? If the ship is at sea, security level is set by the flag state. Flag state will not instruct the ship directly but can do so through the CSO. CSO will receive a message for setting the security level by the flag state, and the flag state sets the level, sends a message across to the CSO. CSO transmits the instruction to the vessel. In fact, what we are looking at is the point about changing the security level at sea. Your vessel is going to a port, it is recognized, your vessel is on security level 1, but the port information facility has been exchanged that the port is now operating at security level 2. Obviously, the vessel has to update its own security level. So how to do it? Means the step will be only the flag state can instruct the ship to change the security level. Messages will be sent across, CSO will forward the message to the flag state that there is a concern because the port facility to which the vessel is going to is operating at a higher level. So we need to revise our security level of the vessel. This is approved by the flag state and they are the ones who will send message across maybe through the CSO to go ahead and update your security level. At port, the vessel needs by the code to have the same security level as the port. So this is done how? By exchange of information from the vessel agent or maybe the port facility. The security details are captured, transmitted to the vessel. Vessel's security details are transmitted back to the port facility. So everybody is aware, exchange of information, and then if there is a concern for the level, maybe if the security level of the port is higher than this of that of ship, then the ship must increase the security level, same as that of the port, because they need to operate at the same security levels.
सर एक बात पूछी थी।
हाँ जी प्लीज।
सर ये जैसे हम सिक्योरिटी लेवल पोर्ट पे हैं, इनिशियली लेवल 1 है, तो हम विदाउट फ्लैग को इन्फॉर्म किए डायरेक्ट रेस कर सकते हैं, जस्ट इन केस देयर इज अ इमरजेंसी इन पोर्ट।
Okay, Amit, what I understand is that you've arrived at the port on security level 1.
करेक्ट सर, सिक्योरिटी लेवल 1 है इनिशियली, और बाद में देयर इज, लेट्स से देयर इज अ बॉम्ब थ्रेट, उधर पोर्ट पे आ गया, देयर वी गॉट अ इंफॉर्मेशन देयर सेइंग दैट कि वेसल पे बॉम्ब है, तो इन दैट सिनेरियो वी हैव टू वेट फॉर द पोर्ट टू राइज द लेवल 2, और डायरेक्टली वी कैन रेज आवर लेवल?
No. This is entirely different. You can raise, but as I said, it is well understood that only the flag state is authorized. So you will need to communicate with the flag state. Maybe the vessel cannot communicate directly with the flag state, maybe through the CSO. You need to inform them.
सर बट उस टाइम के अंदर अंदर हमारा क्रिटिकल टाइम तो काफी चला जाएगा ना इन दैट प्रोसेस?
Okay. The code says that you can start implementing the procedure. You don't have to wait. You can start implementing the procedure. But officially, the level can be altered only by the flag state.
ओके, मतलब हम प्रिकॉशन ले सकते हैं सारे लेवल 2 और 3 के अकॉर्डिंग, बट वी हैव टू वेट जब तक फ्लैग करता है.
Officially, you will need to get the approval from the flag state, but the code very categorically states that you can start implementing the procedure.
So
in this case,
in that way, इस केस में तो हम कहीं एंट्री भी नहीं मार सकते ना विदाउट टेकिंग परमिशन फ्रॉम द फ्लैग स्टेट?
लाइक अभी थोड़ा डिफरेंट हो गया, because you said you are already arrived at the port, isn't it? Then this procedure will follow. But in case you are still not arrived, then you will have to hold on. Then the procedure is different. You will have to raise your security level by permission from the flag state.
नहीं सर, वो आपसे एग्री कर रहा हूँ सर, जस्ट इन केस जैसे कुछ बॉम्ब थ्रेट आ गया तो हम उसके बाद ऑफिशियल एंट्रीज मार देंगे ना कि बॉम्ब थ्रेट फाउंड, डिस्टेंस हो, कार्गो ऑपरेशन टर्मिनेटेड और स्टॉप्ड, ऐसा कुछ. तो वो पूछ रहा हूँ मैं, ऑफिशियल लॉग बुक में हम एंट्री मारेंगे कि सिक्योरिटी लेवल रेज्ड और नॉट, और हम वेट करेंगे फ्लैग स्टेट का?
ओके, ऑफिशियल लॉग बुक में आप एक एंट्री करेंगे, दिस इज द इंसिडेंट, so and so time, flag state informed through CSO, waiting for flag state permission. However, procedures are implemented for level 2.
ठीक है सर, क्लियर.
Because see, Amit, even if we agree, you cannot wait for the threat to materialize. It is a concern of security.
करेक्ट सर, वो काफी क्रिटिकल टाइम वेस्ट हो जाएगा.
बिल्कुल. और मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि अगर तुम्हें परमिशन नहीं भी मिल रही, कोई डिस्क्रिपेंसी आ गई है, टाइम लग रहा है, बट यू कैन नॉट वेट. इफ यू हैव टू इम्प्लीमेंट समथिंग, यू इम्प्लीमेंट फॉर सिक्योरिटी. उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं. बट प्रोसीजर, वी आर डिस्कसिंग प्रोसीजर. प्रोसीजर यही है that you need to get permission from the flag state. They are the only people who can authorize to change the security level. However, it is also mentioned in the code that if such a case is happening, then procedure can be implemented straight away.
Understood.
Okay. Actually, just a minute, 1 minute. This is slide number 34. Okay, slide number 34. So we can stop here. We will continue next class. We are stopping at slide number 34. Any other concern? I think I have only one class here this time. So that will do, but we will meet again. I think I have a cargo class at 14:30. We'll meet again. Okay, you can respond to this class feedback for time being, and we will meet again at 14:30.